everybody, and welcome to a Tatter-a-fact at the Girlz Ink studio in Las Vegas. And I'm super happy to be here with you all today. So we have a really interesting podcast. Well, I think they're all interesting, but today is a little extra special, and it's always a little extra special when I have my wife Kat with me. So, hi Kat.
Hi, sweetheart.
How are you today?
I'm really good today. How are you?
Good. I'm glad you wanted to sit down and do this episode with me.
Absolutely.
I think it's a really important topic that I'm seeing pop up more and more and more within our industry, and even from some very recognizable names.
Yes.
And what we're going to talk about today, you and I went through together.
Yes, we did.
Maybe we handled it differently. Maybe we felt really separated and alone and not together in one sense, because we dealt with different things,
Yes.
if you will. And then on the other hand, we were going through it together because we were dealing with the same thing. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Okay. So what we're going to talk about today is burnout. And burnout is real.
Most definitely real.
Yeah, most definitely real. So, and we're gonna be super honest and transparent. And I hope I don't get emotional. I am gonna try not to get emotional, but this is just really super still a little fresh for me, and my journey to burnout, through burnout, staying in burnout mode and working in burnout mode, and then transitioning out of burnout to where we are today was it was just really personal, and it really affected me, and so sometimes I can get a little emotional talking about it. So let's define burnout first of all. So the definition of burnout is it's an extended time of feeling heavy stress, burden, and constant pressure to live up to a certain standard, right?
Standard that we create for ourselves.
Yeah, I think the standard that we create for ourselves, most definitely. I'm an artist. The industry's full of artists, of course. And I think artists are maybe extra hard on themselves because we're creative beings. And then, of course, you have the entrepreneurial side and entrepreneurs. I talked about this in an earlier podcast, how entrepreneurs have such a higher risk of mental health issues, even bipolar disorder. It was like 18, 20, 25% higher, something along those lines. And then business owners, you know, and you're a business owner. You own Girlz Ink with me, and you run our company with me. So I think there's different states of burnout too. There's physical, and then there's mental and emotional burnout. And they say that emotional burnout is considered the central aspect of burnout. So I think what they mean by that, and I am here to attest that personally it was true for me, that you feel burnout mostly mentally and emotionally rather than physically. You can feel it physically, and it can affect you physically.
Exhaustion.
Like physical fatigue, headaches, stomach aches, lack of sleep, things like that. Frequent illness, a change in appetite. Those are all physical symptoms of burnout. And we can all feel that. And I have definitely felt that. I think my headaches had significantly increased over the last few years. Definitely dealing with loss of sleep, and not just loss of sleep, man, but the inability
to sleep, fall asleep,
fall asleep,
or stay asleep,
and you too.
Oh yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, because you go to bed with your business on your mind, and for me, what was happening for me is every single morning I'd wake up and I started dreading the wake up. It's like I didn't want to wake up. Not that I wanted to be dead. Right?
Not that extreme.
Not that extreme, because if you never wake up, you're dead.
Or in a coma.
Right. But I dreaded waking up because
your plate was full. Yeah.
Your plate was full. And for me, I think mostly not just that the plate was full, but the messages that you would be waking up to, right? Very stressful.
Yeah.
And, so people know, we had the Girlz Ink studio, 3,000 square feet.
Right.
Owned it for 12 years. And we had numerous artists in there and apprentices. We ran a very successful apprenticeship program.
Right.
And so at any given time, on average, we had 4 to 5 artists.
Right.
And we had 5 to 7 apprentices. At one time we had 7.
Yeah.
And that was a little too much personality all in the same place at the same time. I found there was some drama.
A lot of estrogen.
And so we thought, okay, that 7's a little too much. Let's keep the apprentices down to like maybe 4 or 5 at a time. So on any given time, we could have 10 different people in there, licensed artists earning a living as an artist, and apprentices with the desire to learn permanent makeup and make their living at permanent makeup.
And classes.
Yes, and we were holding classes, right, which brought in lots of different personalities. We were hosting other people's classes, which brought in trainers from other areas, and then students.
Right. And not that they weren't fun, because they were fun.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but still, even fun can be stressful. Yes.
And then we had the Girlz Ink team, the admin team. Right. Kind of more the behind the scenes, Sarah, Brielle, Olivia, Roxy.
Right.
You. And so lots of different personalities. Lots and lots and lots of different personalities. And I felt the heavy, heavy responsibility of being everything to everyone. Did you feel that?
I felt that a lot as well. Yeah, because a lot of times the artist would come to me, right? Or the apprentice would come to me.
Yes.
So it was a lot.
It was a lot. And not that...
Oh, and your plate is already full with a lot of other things as well. It's not just that. So...
Yeah, because we're running a company. Like a busy company. We have our online store and our products, which is... If that's all we did was the online store and our products, that's a full-time job.
Definitely.
Anybody... in the industry that has a store and sells products, they know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a lot of work having an online store. But we also have the online training academy, which is a lot of work.
Right.
We have the podcast, like we're here now,
right?
Which isn't like a lot of work. And this is my creative outlet. Like, I don't feel the podcast is really work, but it is time consuming. It takes time to do a really good podcast, to come up with your topics, and make sure that the topics are fresh and unique and interesting to your listeners. And then you have to outline each episode. Like today, we outlined this. We don't sit and practice it or practice dialogue, but we just kind of outline it on, what we want.
So we can stay on point.
So we can stay on point. But it is time consuming.
And the mechanical of it also.
The mechanical of it. Yeah. Like all the lights and the camera and the editing and, all that stuff. Is that what you were talking about
Yes.
by that? Well, it took me 30 minutes to set this up with the cameras and the lights and the white balance and exposure. And then you have to test, make sure everything sounds good, looks good before you actually press record.
Gotta look good, yes.
Yeah, we gotta look good. But and then we do the Girlz Ink Gazette. We have LI pigments that we've been working very closely with
for years,
and we share a lot of workload with LI. We're very involved in a lot of pigment stuff and education. We have the LI Pro team. I won't go on and on and on, but I could.
Yeah, you could keep going.
Could keep going. And then I have my own personal career. Right. I still see clients. I speak at conferences, and I create content. I create courses. I create educational courses, which takes writing. I almost feel like a songwriter. A little bit. When I watch these documentaries on songwriters, like we watched one on the lead singer of One Republic.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember his name. Do you remember his name?
Not off the top of my head.
Well, I watched a documentary on him, and it was really, really interesting. And, and he gets a lot of anxiety to sit down and write a song, and there's a lot of love with it, but a lot of anxiety. And
it seemed to me sometimes he didn't really enjoy it, but he still felt the need.
He feels like this urge and this need. And we watched a little documentary on songwriting the other day. It was a round table of right, mostly female songwriters. And there was one gentleman in there. Olivia Rodrigo was at this table. Billie Eilish was at this table, and there was a few others, and they were
Dua Lipa,
Dua Lipa, yes. It was excellent. And I really resonate when I'm watching songwriters talk about writing songs. I resonate so deeply with that. I feel I'm a songwriter in a sense when I sit down and write educational pieces, classes on all the different topics of permanent makeup. I really do. It's like there's a lot of suffering involved to sit down and write.
Anxiety.
For me.
Yeah. And they get writer's block.
Yes, I get writer's block. My brain gets all twisted with thoughts. The first part of the process for me is really, I use the word, it's suffering. I was like, I just suffer because...
I see you suffer.
I know. I pace back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I start my outline and then it's all twisted and disorganized. And I don't know if I should go in this direction or that direction. I get a lot of babble down. And then once I get all my babble out of my head and it's like all outlined, then it's like, it's a little disorganized. And then you got to go back and you got to, so it's this whole writer's process. And I feel all my courses online, all my writing on permanent makeup topics, it can't be just theory. It can't be dry. It can't be just scientific. It's like if you want people to listen to it, read it, and be interested enough to read it again and again and again so they really learn it, it takes a certain delivery, I feel.
Oh, yes.
Right?
So it's not,
So it's not boring.
Right. People don't sleep.
So,
Yes.
and so people understand it.
Yes.
And you want to ignite interest and curiosity. That's what I want to ignite
And passion.
I want to ignite. Yes, good, exactly. With every single thing I write, with every single course I put out there. So,
and with every single lecture.
And with every single lecture I do. I'm working on some lectures right now. I'm going to be at the Vegas PMU conference in October. I'm doing a really great.
Which is huge.
Which is huge.
And fun.
And fun. So I'm doing something really different for that one. And I think it's going to be great. I was going to do color theory, and it's still along the lines of color theory, but I kind of tweaked it a little bit. Like a lot of people do color theory. So I just felt, okay, I'm going to twist it up a little bit. I'm going to do something really, really kind of different. I'm going to shock them. And that's coming along really, really well. And I'm actually giving that on June 23rd in a live webinar. So I get to practice it in my live webinar. And then I give it live in Boston.
Right.
At Julie Michaud's, because I'm in Boston in August. And then I get on the big stage at the PMU Vegas conference, and I give it live there. So I'll have a couple practice runs. I just got asked to speak at Australia at the APMAC, so I'm really excited about that. So anyway, I have my own career that I'm still nurturing and growing. I'm not done, and I love my career. Right. So it's really difficult to nurture your own career, your own personal career, my own personal career, right? Make sure I'm taking advantage of opportunities, and I get to tattoo my clients, I get my writing in, I get all that stuff in, my own personal career. Second, run my company, and then be a mentor to the artists in my studio and the apprentices in my studio. And for a good long time, I did it. I did it.
I know.
And I did it pretty well.
Right.
I don't think I was perfect.
And lovingly, yes.
Yeah, and I loved every minute of it. But then year after year after year, and I don't know if it's just because you start to get a little bit older, or
you've done it for a long time.
You can only maintain that level of energy and attention to so many different things. And then
something can always suffer because you're so spread thin. I mean, it could.
Right. So I don't really know the exact reason or that I started to burn out when I did do that with a lot of energy for so many years. I think I lived with some symptoms of burnout all those years, but ignored them or just thought it was normal. I'm an entrepreneur. I own a company. This is normal. This is part of the deal. Deal with it. Don't complain.
Right. Well, entrepreneurs work really, really hard.
Yeah, and if you
7 days a week.
Well, that's what they say. Some entrepreneurs, when you're reading about entrepreneurship, or you see some of these quotes. You got to get up at 4 a.m. and and ride a bike for 20 minutes and then go do yoga for 30 minutes and then your breakfast at this time and this time and the grind and the hustle 7 days. I mean, they really push.
And some of them only sleep 4 hours a night.
Yeah,
I can't do that.
No, I can't do that either. And you know what I figured out?
What?
You don't need to get up at 5 a.m. to be successful. I ain't never once not got up at 5 a.m.
Right.
and had a morning routine like that.
No.
I get up at like 8:30, stumble down to the kitchen, barely pour my coffee without spilling it because I'm still like half sleepy, right?
Yeah.
Walk to the couch, I sit down, and I watch my Gail.
It's kind of like, good morning.
Yeah, a little good morning. You're up earlier than me.
Yeah.
You're up with the dogs. And I love coming down the stairs and seeing you all there. I just don't really want to like have a conversation yet. It takes me about a half hour to wake up.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm here to tell you guys, you don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. and have that crazy packed, busy morning before you head to the studio or the office in order to be successful. But if that is your mantra and your routine in your morning and it works for you, then that's fantastic. That works for you, but that certainly doesn't work for everyone. But I think a lot of us feel if we're not doing that in the morning before getting to the studio, then we're failing somehow, or we're not doing as much as we could somehow. Maybe we're hard on ourselves.
You know what I'm curious about? You hear a lot of studies that people who only sleep like 4 hours a night, that it's really unhealthy, right?
Yeah.
That you're not giving your brain proper rest. So I wonder for those people, You know, how do they manage that? You know,
I don't know. I don't understand it, because if I get 4 or 5 hours sleep, I mean, I have a headache. I just don't, I feel fuzzy. I don't feel good. Usually I'm not in the best of mood because I'm so tired. I didn't sleep well.
Maybe it just depends on the individual.
Yeah, it really could depend on your, how you're wired. I mean, some people just need less sleep, but they do say like all the Mayo clinics and, lots of doctors and professionals that study, sleep and behavioral issues. I mean, they say, if you're getting less than like seven a night, I mean, it does affect your health. It can increase blood pressure.
Risk for dementia.
Dementia. I mean, they say there's all these elevated health risks if you're not getting 7 hours at least a night. And I think they actually raised that to 8. I know they raised it like a couple of years ago. So sleep is really, really important. So back to burnout. If with emotional burnout, I think comes a sense of helplessness, feeling detached or alone, lack of motivation, a depletion of emotional energy. You retreat, and you just, for me, I felt like I was drowning. I just felt like I was drowning.
I could never catch up.
And I could never catch up.
Yeah.
Felt like I was drowning, and my head was barely above. I was bobbing in and underwater, and I'd come up a little bit for air, and then I'd be pushed back down underwater, and then come up for air, and that's just how I was feeling. That's how. That's where I got, and
we stopped going out with our friends.
Stopped going out with our friends, and I just retreated a lot, and. And I want to say first, it wasn't any one person. It wasn't the artists. We had great relationships with the artists.
Right.
Loved them.
Yes.
And it wasn't the apprentices.
Oh, no.
It's not the trainers we were hosting. No. It wasn't all the students. It wasn't any one person. Right. So so if any people that, any of the artists or apprentices are listening to this, it wasn't any one person. It was just the amount of responsibility.
Cumulative, yeah.
That we took on. And it just got overwhelming. And I started feeling really guilty that I was no longer able to be everything that everybody needed me to be. Because every artist is different. They needed me for different things. The apprentices.
Some need you more than others, yeah.
Some needed me more than others. And sometimes I couldn't be there because I was traveling or working on a project or
home with a migraine, yeah.
Home with a migraine. I get really bad migraines. And same with the apprentices, some of them needed me more than others. And then you start feeling guilty. You start feeling really, really guilty. And I think maybe it's the guilt with feeling like I'm drowning and I couldn't catch up. It all caught up to me. And I remember telling you that, we had 3 more years left on the studio. And it was not on our radar at all to close down the studio.
No, not at all.
Not at all. Now, what we did talk about, what I started saying often is, oh, man, I don't know if I got 3 more years in me. I don't know if I can do this 3 more years.
Yes.
But I knew I had to.
Right.
Because we're in a lease.
Right.
We love our landlord. So, but how many times, Kat, did we wake up, or I wake up and I'd say, I don't know if I can do 3 more years. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know how I'm going to do it. A lot.
And then you think about what could I not take on, right?
Yeah.
But what do you give up, right? It was everything you love. It's hard.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Because I love the artist. I love the studio part. You'd walk in there and you'd walk around.
I felt very proud of the studio.
So proud of it. And you'd walk around and you see the artists, and it was beautiful. And the studio was beautiful. And I think for the most part, those 12 years, we attracted really great people to
Yes.
us. So the majority, like 90% of the time, the artists were great. The relationship with the artists were great. And same with the apprentices. Every now and then, maybe you didn't vibe with somebody and it didn't work out. That happens to every studio owner. But for the most part, we vibed with everybody and we got along, and it was great. And we had our own unique little relationships with each one of them individually, and then collectively as a whole. So it wasn't any one person. It was just all the work it requires to nurture all of it. And like you said, what do you give up? Because you love it all. You love doing the store. I love the online training academy.
Yeah.
I loved having a studio and the artists and walking in and out of their rooms and showing them how to do an eyeliner.
Felt
or
very
having
proud.
having the apprentices watch and me do something, doing theory with them. Yes, you're proud. Watching them grow, and when things make sense with them. And I loved everything. So what do you give up? Right?
Yeah.
There was really nothing we could give up.
Right.
And then one day, about a month ago, right? About a month ago.
Yeah.
By the time this airs, it will probably be 2 months ago. But as we sit here today, about a month, 4 or 5 weeks ago, an opportunity just, boom, showed up in our path.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we had to make a decision.
Quickly.
Very quickly. Stay in the studio for the term of the lease, the next 3 years, or leave because there's an opportunity. And I don't think you and I even thought about it 5 minutes. Was it about that quick?
Yeah.
We're like, let's take it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And we took the opportunity.
Because that opportunity probably would not come again.
It probably would not have come again. And it probably couldn't have shown up at the most perfect time for you and I. Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I think everybody knows I'm super spiritual, and I'm a spiritual gangster. It's like kind of like what I right, a little bit.
I love that. Yeah.
I'm trademarking that.
Okay.
Yeah, spiritual gangster.
In process, yes.
In process, yes. Well, that's kind of how I feel because I'm kind of a little bit of a badass. I say the F word. But I just got this deep spiritual part of me too that deeply believes in doing good, being good. And when you do
paying
good,
it forward,
paying it forward, and when you do good and you are good, that comes back to, I believe in universal law, the law of attraction, all that stuff. I mean, with my whole being, and I practice it and live it daily. And one of the new affirmations that I had started saying this year, and it was kind of a new affirmation, was, thank you for removing the people, places, and things that no longer serve me. And thank you for putting into my path the people, places, and things that do serve me, that do support me, and will help me reach my goals quickly, more efficiently, with joy, and with happiness. That was one of my new manifestations. And I've been saying it maybe about 3 months. And this opportunity arose. So I felt I manifested it without knowing what the hell that was going to manifest. I couldn't have predicted it would have been to leave the studio.
I know.
Did you even see that coming?
No.
I mean, honest.
No. How could I see that coming? No.
Right?
Yeah.
Me neither. I just did not see that coming. So we decided to take it. And
well, what do they say? The universe whispers to you and then it knocks. So listen.
And then it kicks you in the ass.
Yeah.
So listen, because because it's true.
Again. Mm-hmm.
Might not come again. And that was kind of like a kick in the ass from the universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we took it, and we had 4 weeks to vacate the studio.
Yeah, boy.
Right?
That was stressful.
That was stressful. And I think when we said yes, it was exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Very exciting, because the minute I said yes, I felt 1,000,000 pounds lifted off me, because once we said yes, there was no going back.
Right.
You could not change your mind, and that was made very clear to us.
Mm-hmm.
So once we said yes, it was go time. Mm-hmm. And I think we felt very elated that day, and like a load was off, 1,000,000 pounds. And then I got scared.
Mm-hmm. It was a lot.
I got scared. I'm not going to lie. Did you get scared?
I felt overwhelmed.
So not scared.
Not so much scared.
Yeah.
More overwhelmed.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt overwhelmed. Well, you really handled the physical
That's the part
of it.
That was overwhelming.
Yeah, you had to handle the landlord, the new tenants, the getting everything
moved out
and sold, because it was a lot. We had a lot.
And we loved all of it and couldn't take it with us. So
yes. No, I got scared.
Mm-hmm.
I got scared. And
well, your role is different. So yeah, I can see why you would get scared. Yeah.
Yes, I think I got scared because I felt I was going to get judged somehow.
Oh.
Yeah. Because the Girlz Ink studio is kind of iconic. That's what we heard a lot when people saw that we were closing down the Girlz Ink studio.
We'd have artists.
Not Girlz Ink.
Yeah.
Some people got confused and thought Girlz Ink was closing. We're like, oh, hell no.
No.
Girlz Ink and all of us, we're still rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of projects coming out in the next 12 months we're super excited about. And
a lot of new stuff.
New stuff. I'm speaking at conferences next year. We got a lot of new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so just the studio part, right? And I'm not giving up clients, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I think because I don't want to be selfish here and say but you're in the background a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I think the studio part defined me, maybe more than anything else. That's how I felt, maybe. Because we did a lot of videos and reels and me tattooing clients in there. Mm-hmm. People would come to Vegas and want to come in and visit.
From all over the world.
From all over the world. Mm-hmm. So many people use the word iconic. Mm-hmm. And so I just felt like, after the happiness and feeling like, okay, we're going to get out from under
some of it,
some of this heaviness. Mm-hmm. I just felt I was losing a part of me. Mm-hmm. I guess I went through that period, and that I was going to be somehow judged or something. Yeah, it's really strange. And then I had to tell the artists.
Yeah, I know.
And that was really difficult.
Very difficult. Yeah. And heartbreaking sometimes. Like, you love these people, so yeah, it would be hard.
Yes. And with a couple of them, it did not come as a shock. And they were fine with it. Mm-hmm. And then with a couple, it came as a complete shock.
Shock, yeah.
And it was, maybe devastating to find out. Something that gave them something.
They took it almost personally, but it wasn't personal, right?
Yeah. And so that was really hard. So I had to have some long conversations.
Yeah, because we needed to make that decision for ourselves.
And once I was able to sit down, and all of our artists were going through similar feelings.
Right.
dealing with some anxiety, being overwhelmed, you know, I mean, a lot of, you know, because I had
client issues,
stress, you know, I had deep, long conversations with the artists, and not just when we decided to move, but long before that, I had deep, you know, personal conversations with the artists, you know, and so once I was able to sit down with them and explain that my mental health is suffering. It is suffering. I try to hide that from you guys. That's my job as a studio owner, is, you know, to be your cheerleader, to root you on, to encourage you, ignite you, keep you motivated, kick you in the butt when needed. That's my job, but it's not my. But you shouldn't see that I'm suffering or that I'm experiencing burnout or anxiety, right? I really tried to hide that from the artist. But once I was able to sit down and explain that you know, you guys, I'm suffering. I'm terribly suffering. I didn't call it burnout then. I just felt completely overwhelmed, stressed, burdened. My anxiety was at really super high levels, and
drained.
Yeah, you know, exhausted, just exhausted. And of course they were compassionate, you know, but still felt anxiety. Where am I going to go? What's going to happen to me? I think that's the first thing people think of, like, you know, well, what's going to happen to me? And I'm happy to tell you, you know, we had Michonne and Amber. They were my first two apprentices, and both of them have their
two loves.
My two loves, and they both have their own studios. You know, Amber's had hers for 3 years now, and she's very successful, which I damn well knew she would be.
Oh yeah, we're very proud.
Very proud. And then, you know, and then Michonne, after being with me 10 years.
Yes.
She stayed with us 10 years. She just opened her new studio.
Yes.
All by herself. Just opened it.
I know. Super proud of her also.
Super proud of her. And it's super cute. So she has not invited us yet down to see it personally, but I've seen.
Is she having a grand opening or anything?
I don't know. I don't know if she is, but if she is, we'll go, of course. But so the, you know, so one of the apprentices went with Amber.
Right.
And that was a great fit. And then, and that's working out great. And then a couple of the artists, you know, went over to Michonne's new studio. And so Michonne is happy as hell because she was just starting to run ads, trying to, you know, attract some artists, you know, to come work at her place. And so when we decided to close, you know, quite a I think 3 of them ended up with Michonne.
Nice, yes.
Yeah, so Michonne's happy as hell.
Nice.
And she had relationships with them. You know, she knew all of them from being there at our studio before she opened her own. So it couldn't have worked out any better.
Right.
Really, it couldn't. In the end, it worked out really good. And they're all, and I just feel they're all going to thrive where they are.
Both mentors, both great mentors and
Michonne and Amber, both great.
Amazing.
Well, yes. Well, great people.
Yes.
Great artists and great mentors and trainers. And the artists and apprentices that ended up with them are lucky to be there. And Michonne and Amber are lucky to have those, have them as well. So it worked out great, which was a relief for me. A relief for me. So there may have been a little like, oh, God damn it, Teryn.
Disappointment.
A little bit of disappointment in me from a couple of them, because I think people don't like change. They get really afraid of change. But change is constant and change is necessary. And that's why I wanted to do this podcast. I wanted to talk about burnout and recognizing it.
Can I say something?
Yeah, of course.
So something that one day, if they have their own studio, hopefully they do, and if they want to, they will know what that feels like. Because it's, everybody gets burned out sometime or another, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's a lot to take on.
Well, you
and
know,
it's rewarding, but it's a lot to take on.
oh no, it's rewarding. Look, having a studio, a really kick-ass PMU studio full of artists and apprentices was part of my dream.
Mm-hmm.
You know, having an online store, the studio, you know, it was part of my dream.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had to have that studio
Mm-hmm.
and build it up,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And we finally did it
Mm-hmm.
and had it for 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the majority of the time it was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. But it does require a lot of work. And so over time, you just get exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
It was just exhaustion, really.
Well, and you're growing in all ways too. So
Yeah.
more and more you're taking on, you start spreading yourself very thin.
Yeah, I think when I first opened the studio and started taking on artists
Mm-hmm.
and apprentices, my personal career wasn't quite as extensive
Mm-hmm.
as it is
Now.
today.
Yeah.
Now. So, yeah, you know, so, and absolutely no regrets. And I think, you know, me and Amber's relationship, it elevated. It was always great. Me and
Mhm.
Amber are super close,
Mm-hmm.
you know, always have been. But once she got into her own studio, you know, like a year in, I mean, we had some really great talks, and she was like, "Oh gosh, T,
Mm-hmm.
why didn't you tell me it was this hard?" I said, "I did, I did."
You didn't write it down.
You didn't write it down, you know. But and Amber will talk to me now about, you know, some of the stresses of being a studio owner, and but it elevated our relationship to be deeper, to be stronger, because now it's not studio owner artist. We're both studio owners,
Right.
and now. I think my relationship with her will even evolve into something even stronger, because now I don't have a studio.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out of the studio game.
Mm-hmm.
She's in it and will probably be in it for a long time. And so, because now I don't have my own studio, when you remove that, I think Amber and I are going to get even closer now,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk more about studio things and
Mm-hmm.
artists and whatnot. So I'm really excited for that. And then Michonne, you know, she is in the very beginning of her journey as a studio owner, and just like me, just like Amber, you know, she will learn a lot. She'll go through a lot, good, bad, and different, and she will figure it out. She's a smart girl. She's a tough girl.
Mm-hmm.
She don't take no shit.
She does not.
Nope. And she's got high standards,
Yes.
high ethics,
Yes.
and she's just an outstanding person. And so I believe that her high standards, she will set that for her studio,
Mm-hmm.
and she'll do great. She'll do
Yes.
great.
I think
you know?
so.
Yeah, and I
Definitely.
told her, if you ever need anything, you know, you can call me, because, you know, now you're a studio
Full
owner.
circle. Yeah.
Full circle. Well, that's beautiful to see. Beautiful
Yes.
for them to see full circle. So since we're on the subject, let's just stay with Amber for a little bit. So I did get out. I had a few clients reach out. Are you going to stop seeing clients? And no, I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's still something that brings me a lot of joy,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm still really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love tattooing eyeliner, lips, and areolas. I love it.
And eyebrows.
And eyebrows. Well, I didn't say eyebrows.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I love eyebrows. I love those are my four. I love doing them, and I'm still really good at it. And I still want to like evolve and learn new techniques and get even better. I am really excited now that I don't have the studio and all the responsibility of a studio. Now my focus is clients, but I am going to keep that minimal,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I am going to be. And you talk about full circle.
Right.
Right? So where am I going to see my clients? I don't have a
Mhm.
studio anymore.
Right.
That freaked me out more than anything, I think.
Right.
Because I've always had my own little tattoo room with my own art on the walls and my own radio and my own little place that was mine.
Right.
I've never not had my own little tattoo room, right? So I'm in this new space where I don't have a tattoo room anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I call Amber. And full circle. I am going to be seeing my clients at Amber's, Miss Amber Red's. Yes.
It's awesome.
It is awesome. And we've talked about it because, I don't want no issues to creep up, between us personally.
Right. So you set the boundaries.
So we set boundaries, and we're going to dinner next week. And so we continue to talk about the boundaries and how it's going to work and whatnot, because she's her own brand.
You don't want to step on any toes.
I know. I don't want to step on any toes or anything like that. And when an artist, when Amber and Michonne, they've been at Girlz Ink. Amber was there for 6.5 years, under the Girlz Ink brand. Michonne was there for 10 years under the Girlz Ink brand. And when they break out, I think especially for Amber, because she did all the trainings with me, she spoke at, she was just a more visible than Michonne
at that time. Yeah,
was at that time. It's hard for an artist, someone like Amber, to break out and get out from under the Girlz Ink brand and be their own brand. Amber and I were just talking about this, and I said it's kind of like a celebrity. Parent.
Right.
Let's just say Bon Jovi.
Right.
He's a rock legend.
John Bon Jovi, yeah.
John Bon Jovi. His son wants to be a rock star. And they live in the shadow of their dad.
And everybody always compares them. Yeah.
Everybody always compares them. And me and Amber just had that conversation. And it's kind of like that. So, but she's very much her own brand, built a great brand. And so, we've been.
I think she's pretty much out from under that now, right?
I
would say.
Yeah.
So. She's got her own. Yeah.
100%. But maybe sometimes she still feels like she is. I don't. A little bit. Or she's out and she doesn't want to go back to being. It's just like, not that I don't love Girlz Ink. I said, look, you don't even need to explain.
No.
I get it.
Right.
I totally get it. But so full circle. I'm so excited. Amber's got a beautiful little studio. And so I'm going to be seeing my clients there a couple times a month.
Oh, yeah. It's super cool.
Super cool. And so I'm really stoked about that. But anyway, so recognizing, look, burnout is real. It's real, man. And it's really important to recognize it, not just recognize it. Then it's important to take steps to address it. Because the final stage of burnout, right? If you don't address it, the final stage of burnout is chronic sadness, depression, feelings of hopelessness and indifference. And we need to recognize it and address it before it gets there. And for me personally, I was not able to do that. I was not able to do that. I was
know how to get away from it. Yeah.
No, I was in and I don't want, and this is not a poor me, pity me.
No.
At all.
It's just educational.
It's just education. Because I don't think people are talking about this enough publicly, because maybe there's like a little bit of shame involved. Maybe you feel like, and I went through this, a little bit of being ashamed that I could no longer keep up and do it all. And remain healthy, feeling a little bit of inadequate or like weak, things like that, feeling like you're going to be judged. I mean, it was really hard to announce the Girlz Ink studio. We were closing it. It was almost embarrassing to me, but so elated at the same time. You know what I mean? It was
combination.
It was so many different emotions coming at me. So it was just strange, like feeling elated and almost euphoric because a huge burden was being lifted off me. But yet feeling so kind of embarrassed, a little ashamed, and
a little disappointed.
Disappointed, some sadness, saying goodbye to it all. Right, I mean, when we were selling off all the furniture, it was kind of sad.
Weird, yeah.
It was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I ended up in a chronic state of sadness and depression and I wouldn't say hopelessness, but just drowning. That's the best way I can describe it. Just felt like I was drowning. And I ended up feeling that, like, I pride myself on giving 110% to everything I do and nurturing everything I do with full attention until it is successful, very successful. And I just ended up at a place where I felt nothing was being nurtured at full potential, right? Because I could no longer do it. I just didn't have the capacity or the bandwidth or the energy anymore.
Some of the things you do, no one else can do.
Yeah, exactly. Within the company. But here we are, 5 weeks later, through all that, you know, and I feel good about the decision.
Yes.
I have no regrets.
Me either.
You either?
No.
Yeah. You can't look back and have regret.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can look back and say, well, maybe I should have done this a little differently. Maybe I could have done that better. But you can't, it's not good or it's not healthy to have regret, to live with that emotion of regret, right? Because then you beat yourself up. So I have no regrets. And I'm really happy where we are now. Now I think it's going to take some time. I don't think it happens overnight. And I'm wondering how you feel, Kat. But for me, it's been a process. Every day I'm feeling a little stronger, a little happier, a little more rested, a little healthier, a little more optimistic, a little more joy. I'm starting to really feel that. I'm starting to really feel excited again.
You're more present now too.
I'm definitely more present, and I feel now I have so much more to give. I'm so much more present, and I have so much more to give because I'm not burdened,
right,
with workload, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I feel the same. I feel a real sense of relief. And we love the studio. I just want everybody to we did love the studio and we love the artists, but at some point something has to give so you can have balance. And and nurture the other projects.
Yeah. Exactly. And our other projects, so what we're nurturing, we have the store. And, my pigments, the OMG pigments. Do you know the eyeliners just launched, and the feedback on that is just, I knew everybody was going to love them. I just did. I knew it.
I just heard somebody just emailed, and she said they implant so easy. I want to know what you did. What did you do?
Yeah, I know. Well, I kind of told him in the tutorial what we did a little bit. I mean, it's hard to explain in depth scientifically because it's beyond, sometimes it's even beyond me trying to explain.
Right.
I explain it to Blanca and Darlene
what
I want and how I want it to perform.
Right.
And then they go do their thing.
Because they're the chemists.
They're the chemists. But I did have some ideas and suggestions on using like multiple different black organics, multiple different, carbons rather than just one, making this blend, changing out the carriers and just changing things up and experimenting. And that's why it took 1.5 years to get these pigments launched,
and tested
and tested to make sure they performed. And of course, when you launch something, you want it to perform as good, if not better, than anything else out there. Or why work on something
so hard?
That's the goal. The goal. That's my goal for sure. So. And it was hard for me to enjoy the launch of the OMG pigments because we were in the midst of the move out. Yeah. So and I'll say and that happened a lot to me over the career. It was something that launched and was very successful, and we should have been able to really ride that wave and stay in that
Enjoy it.
space and enjoy it and celebrate. And we were never really able to.
No.
Right?
Right.
It's like at launch, everybody loves, okay, now I got to deal with this and this and
And
this
now
and
the
this.
next thing. Yeah.
And now the next thing. So I'm really excited. Now we're working on the OMG brow colors. We're launching with a set of 4. 3 are tested and done. I just got one that I'm like tweaking a little bit. And then we got the lip colors coming. So now now I just feel, Kat, we're in a space where we're going to be able to enjoy the rewards of our hard work, right? When we've never really been able to. It's kind of like, I always relate things to like music. I don't know why, but I do.
Because you love music.
Because I love music and I love PMU. But sometimes you'll see like a band, like a really big band or, singer, and they're touring and, like Taylor Swift, or, they're touring all over the world and it just, and their album, selling millions of copies and they won a Grammy and they're just all this stuff. Right. And you think, oh my God, they're just living the life. And they'll, in an interview, they'll sit down and tell you that it's like, I really didn't get to enjoy it. I mean, I was having to, promote the record. So I was on tour. You don't really, city to city. You don't get to really see the city. It's like you set up
the hotel.
You see the hotel and it's back on the bus to the next one and exhaustion. You do all these press releases and they don't really get to stop and enjoy. And that was me for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Both of us.
Work.
Yeah.
So, but now we're in a great space. We have the store. We have the online training academy. We have the podcast. Yes. We have conferences that we're going to this year, next year. We got the Gazette, Girlz Ink Gazette. We've got the protein. We got
Plenty.
We got plenty.
Yeah, plenty.
And now we've got so much more time to nurture each one of those. So I'm really excited about our future.
And now we'll have a work-life balance. Right.
How did it affect you and I? I know you didn't know I was going to ask you this.
No, I did not know you were going to ask me that. But we just worked. We didn't do a lot, right? And especially as of recent, we did stop going out to dinner with friends. And all we were home and we were working, like pretty much every day. We'd feel guilty if we watched a TV show.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
I think a lot of people listening right now can relate. I think they can relate to this. And you feel guilty.
Yeah. And then you get cranky. And you don't want to be cranky with your partner, but who are you going to show your real true self to? Your partner.
Yeah. I think for me, one thing that really hit me was, because I think you get so stuck in it. Like you're so in it, knee deep in it. You don't realize. You're suffering. You're tired. You're overworked.
And somewhat unhappy.
And you're somewhat unhappy. When you have everything to be happy for, yet you're not feeling happy. Right?
How can you feel happy when you're so exhausted?
Yeah, but that was always so confusing to me. Look, I've got you, I've got my dogs, I got my friends, I got a great career, permanent makeup colleagues, great collaborations, we got a great company. How can I not be happy? What is wrong with me? Like something is not right here. So you start feeling guilty for not being happy because you do have a good life. You're not experiencing it because you're so burdened.
And what is life if you can't enjoy it?
Exactly. But do you remember when we went to dinner about 2 weeks before the opportunity presented itself to leave the studio? We went to dinner with Laura and Claude. And
our friends.
And I'll tell you what, Claude really called me out at dinner.
Yeah, she did.
Didn't she?
Yeah.
She thought that I didn't like them anymore.
Yeah.
That that she just called me out on a lot of things, man.
She sure did. We've had friends ask us if we're mad at them.
Yes, we had friends ask us if we're mad at them. We got a great group of friends. And that dinner turned into like a therapy session. She called me out on some things. It was very difficult for me to hear. But I needed to hear it. And I guess That's what friends do, right?
Mm-hmm.
People that love you, they see things and they talk to you about it. And I didn't shut down. I was really open to everything she said, and I didn't deny anything. I acknowledged it all, and we just ended up having a great conversation. And I think that conversation got you and I thinking and talking about how can we create better work-life balance, because, you know, I feel like shit. My friends think that I'm mad at them and I don't want to come around no more. And
that's the biggest joy in our lives.
And that's the biggest joy in my life. One of the biggest joys in my life. And then it was 2 weeks later, we got that phone call and that opportunity to leave the studio. And we took it.
Yeah.
We took it. We said yes, and then ran. And so here we are. So look, if any of you listening are feeling, or, you know, burnout or any of the things I'm talking about, if it can if any of it resonates with you,
and maybe you don't even realize
it, but I would hate to see any of you wait as long as I waited to address it and to get help.
And don't ignore it.
No, don't ignore it, because it only gets worse.
Oh, yeah.
It just gets worse. It doesn't get better
Unless you make some changes.
unless you may acknowledge it and you make some, you know, changes. And I don't even think it flatlines and stays the same. I think it progresses and gets worse.
It's changes for everyone can be different too. They don't, you know, they might make a different change, like maybe just add exercise or walking into their routine just to help relieve some of the stress.
We're certainly not suggesting to close your studio.
No, not at all.
Not at all. Unless
You want to.
you want to. You're really feeling that it's
Time.
Do you know? And for me, it was a lot of it was client management. And it wasn't because when you own a studio and you've got 4 or 5 artists in there and you've got apprentices in there, and apprentices are all seeing models. So you have all those clients, you have all those models, and then I have my own clients. You're responsible, the studio owner. I don't know about everybody else owning a studio and what they do and what their protocol is, but if I had, every time I had an artist that had an issue with a client, they told me.
Right. They weren't necessarily able to handle it themselves.
Right. And so I would have to step in and handle the difficult client. And the last 3 months that we were in the studio, it was a lot.
Oh my God. The last one was so bad.
The last one was so bad. So bad.
Can I say?
Yeah.
You were almost physically attacked.
I was almost physically attacked by a man.
It was so scary.
It was very scary.
See, now that brings emotion for me.
And this is one of my artist's clients.
Yes. Yeah, it wasn't your client.
No. Most of the clients I had to deal with, 95% of them that ended up being issues or problematic, they were not my personal clients.
Right.
They were the clients of my artists or even models with some of the apprentices or some of the students.
Right.
And that's what I meant early on in the podcast when I said I'd wake up, and I just didn't want to wake up. I didn't want to look at my phone because it was constant, a message, you know, hey T, just a heads up. Hey T, I got to tell you about this client. Hey T, it was just, and do you know what that does to me? It robs me. It really affected my creativeness. It really disturbed my concentration. It became a big, huge distraction and burden for me because I worried about the artist because they were uncomfortable. They were scared. They were feeling some type of way.
And you were feeling protective.
And I was feeling very protective of the artist. And then I have to at the same time go deal with the client. And I don't know what's going on. But, and I just saw a post about this the other day. She posted it. Someone posted it on Instagram, an artist, and it was directly to clients. And I don't know what's going on, but it just seems like more often we're seeing problematic clients. You know,
Sure feels that way.
it
Yeah.
feels that way. Maybe I'm wrong. I still believe most people are good.
Yes. Yes.
I still believe most clients are great, and it's an honor to have them. And you know, most times our relationships with our clients are fantastic. But it can be that one problematic client that
yeah.
stalks you and tortures you and
Yeah. Puts bad
torments you.
reviews or
But bad
whatever.
reviews, comes into your studio and like
Yeah.
physically threatens
Oh
you.
my God. Yeah.
That's what kind of ends up standing out and taking over all your emotions. Forget the 98% of the clients that are amazing and awesome and you
Right.
look forward to them, right? Like all that gets kicked to the curb, and all that occupies you and affects you is that one client.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
But there was,
For whatever it's all consuming.
for whatever it's all
reason.
consuming. I think like news, bad news
Stands out.
versus good news,
Right.
you know, on TV. The good news and the people out there doing great things, they kind of get overshadowed by the bad news and the people out there doing
Drama,
bad things, the drama. And so, yeah, it just seemed to be like a lot. There was a lot of, I was having to handle a lot of situations with clients, the artists' clients. And that was it was very, very, very hard on me.
Oh, I know.
Extremely difficult on me.
On me too. It
Yes.
was terrible.
Yeah.
It was just awful.
It was awful. So let's talk about how to avoid burnout,
Yeah.
right? Because there's things that you can do. Not that I did them. I didn't do them. I didn't follow.
Learn from our mistakes.
Learn from our mistakes. But we're going to go real quick. So define your goals, right? Define your goals. And if you're not reaching your goals, if you're not reaching your deadlines, you're going past your deadlines and you're not reaching your goals and they're stacking up, don't get upset. Sit down and reevaluate. Reevaluate. You know, manage your time and don't take on too many projects at once. Don't spread yourself too thin. And I'm really bad at that.
Yes,
but I'm
'cause
getting...
You want to say yes to everyone, but you can't.
Yes, you want to say yes to everyone because it sounds so cool. That person is cool. You would
Yeah.
love to collab.
Right.
It sounds like a great opportunity. But in reality, you can't say yes to everyone because there's only one of you. Work-life balance. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it's really important. I think it's the key to being happy. We all have to work. And most of us work really hard. Most of us love what we do, right? And I'm talking mostly to permanent makeup artists and beauty professionals. We love what we do. But work-life balance is very important. Get organized and delegate. That's a big one. You know, delegate some of your responsibilities to other people. If you can't afford like a front desk person to help you, take calls and scheduling, there's virtual secretaries now, virtual assistants now.
A lot of people use those.
A lot of people use those. Just doing something like that can remove some of the workload. And I think we need to start practicing self-love and doing what's best for us, even if we think it's going to disappoint others somehow, some way. Our intention is not to disappoint anybody. My intention was not to disappoint anybody in this decision. It was purely to take care of myself, you, and us as a couple, because we were suffering. We were suffering, and we needed to get out from under that and take care of ourselves and get back to a healthy place. Life is short. And you and I, we're getting a little bit older, man. We're not 20 no more. Or 30. I'll stop there.
Stop there.
But, practicing self-love, it's
Plus
doing
10.
what's best for you, even if that may disappoint others, because it's not your intention. You're not intentionally disappointing anybody.
No, you don't want to.
No, and sometimes we can't live up to other people's expectations and standards, although
Right.
we want to and we try to. So a part of self-love is setting boundaries, setting really strong boundaries for yourself, saying no, learning the art of saying no, and setting aside time, good amounts of time for fun and for your
Laughing.
hobbies.
Yes.
And for laughing and just sitting around with your friends having a glass of wine and some music in the background and conversation and laughing, right?
Yes.
So yes. So yes,
Yes.
I think this was good.
I think it was really
I think
good.
it was good. It's the first time we've talked about it publicly, and I wanted to sit down and I wanted to do it here on the podcast and tell my listeners, about it and what happened and why we did it and where we're at now. And so,
better place.
yeah,
Yes.
I feel most comfortable sitting here on the podcast telling my listeners.
Because you love your podcast. That's
I
awesome.
love my podcast and I love the listeners.
Mm-hmm.
We get so many messages from them.
Yes.
And although I get really nervous and anxiety and uncomfortable to do stories and be on video, like on an Instagram feed or something like that, and talking on those kind of platforms, like I am so comfortable here on the podcast with this mic in my mouth, sitting at this desk, talking about really vulnerable stuff. And it is on YouTube, but you do see me. I am on video. I don't know what it is,
I
but
don't
this
know.
just feels like a safe space for me. And I'm glad I carved out a safe space for me to sit down and talk about real things that are going on in the industry and
Maybe
real
people can relate to these
that
things.
people can
Yeah.
relate to these things and real things that we go through as artists. And whether your name is recognizable or not, we are all human. We're PMU artists. We all deal with clients and stress and family stress and self-doubt and all kinds of things. We all deal with the same thing because we're all just people, right? And I think it's important that none of us feel alone.
Right. I think people feel lonely about it. Yeah, a lot of times, like we did.
Yeah, we felt very lonely. I didn't want to talk about it, because I didn't want to offend anybody. I didn't want anybody, I don't know. I just didn't want to talk about it. I held it in for so long. And so now I'm talking about it. And I think, and because I got burnt out and ended up in this place, it had nothing to do with it. I didn't love it all and experience a lot of happiness and a lot of joy and a lot of proud moments, because I certainly did.
Oh, yeah.
Those 12 years will go down in my history of life as some of the greatest 12 years ever for me. Yeah, there was some stressful moments here and that. And in the end, I just started feeling super overwhelmed, and it was just time to transition out of it.
That's all.
That's all. That's all. And I think I made a bigger deal out of it than what it really was.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Change is constant, and we're constantly evolving and transitioning.
It's
And
just kind of coming to the realization. Yeah.
it's coming to the realization and not beating yourself up over it. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
We're going to say goodbye. You want to leave? You have one last little.
Oh goodness, put me on the spot. I hope everybody really enjoyed this. It was cathartic for me.
It was cathartic for you? Yeah, it was cathartic for me. So yeah, if you're listening and you're experiencing burnout and going through some of these things that Kat and I went through, if you resonate with anything, then reach out. You can leave a comment on the podcast. I know some people are not comfortable leaving public comments on YouTube, so you can reach out to me privately, man. I get a lot of DMs at Girlz Ink, or you can leave your message on the Tatter-a-fact Instagram DM. But if there's just something that you want to say, you want to get off your chest, anything like that at all, your comments are welcomed. They're not just welcomed, they're wanted. I love hearing from you guys. And I think it'd be great if, we all go through this together, man. Support each other and go through this together and help each other through these difficult moments. So I appreciate you all being here with us today, and I hope you found support, healing, insight in the conversation today. So, as I always say, stay in the pursuit of happiness, everyone. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we will see you next time.